Alrighty, let's get specific with the things that I've been doing in the last week and beyond that have been incredibly helpful in helping me feel clear, connected to my body, really creative and effective with my work, and are also shifting the quality of my decisions and my discernment in every area of life. So the first thing is I've not been scrolling, okay? I've deleted Instagram from my phone. I've deleted Facebook from my phone. I've deleted YouTube from my phone. So when I want to upload some content, what I have to do is install the app. And I install the app once or twice a week. And beyond that, if it's on my phone, it's because I'm actively promoting something through my stories, like an upcoming workshop or whatever. But I'm only on there to do that, and then I'm off. Facebook isn't really an avenue I use for that, so Facebook really is just kind of unnecessary most of the time. That's probably not really even getting reinstalled. And then YouTube, I just use YouTube Studio like to upload, and occasionally the app so that I can view notifications and comments more easily, but then it's off again. Removing these things from my ecosystem is far easier than trying to fight some daily battle to prove something about my willpower. Because the fact is that all of these things are designed to entice you. And the more you start to base yourself in those worlds, rather than just dipping the toe intentionally, the harder it becomes to then extract yourself. But if you stay based in your present moment, immediate reality, if you're creating via journaling, your relationships in person, your practice, and you're filming that, whatever it is that you're doing, you can then very easily just compile that and then do it to a high quality in the first place because you're not distracted, which we'll talk more on, and then just share it. And then you walk away. You don't have to check on all of the metrics. You don't have to check on the notifications and get addicted to those little red numbers and dopamine hits. You can just walk away knowing that you've given your best effort, and you know that in here. And then you come back and you do your best again. You look at the feedback maybe once a week, and you just implement this whole thing of checking notifications, checking the phone, looking for messages, looking out for stuff. It leads us into the second thing that I've been doing, which I think we all need to do, which is highly, highly effective, and that is deep work. Now, deep work is essentially just uninterrupted phases of attention that we're giving something that matters to us. The uninterrupted time that we can allocate to something within a window is the key part. When it's interrupted, when it's fragmented, we're not able to access these deeper states of consciousness or even brainwave states, which enable both wonderful creation and deep satisfaction, that meditative quality. It's very difficult when things are just broken up. So allocating time to really get into something and not be distracted, to just be doing that one thing. It will help you reclaim your attention span, which is something that we're chronically debriding with the modern Western culture. And that attention span is going to help you to learn more quickly and more deeply, because the longer you spend in that deep state, the more receptive you become to it. It's like a muscle you flex. And it takes maybe 15, 20 minutes to really drop into a task to start to get to the good stuff, whether it's learning or creating. So if you're constantly just trying to dip in and out, then you're spending that 15 to 20 minutes in this kind of limbo zone where your whole system is attempting to transition, but it's never quite getting to that deep state. So transitions themselves are also something that can help you. So let's say you have a window of time that you want to allocate to deep work, be it writing, be it teaching, be it reading, anything, training. Have rituals to help you transition in and transition out. This is vital. This is very important for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's going to prime your nervous system to do the work. Your brain, you'll be in the right state. Your body, it's all going to become very ready and receptive for that work, which is going to flow through or flow in very effortlessly. The next reason is it's going to help you ingrain a sense of beginning or takeoff. Oh, yep, we're getting into it. Flying the plane, or okay, we're on task. This is it. We're mid-run, we're mid-training session, we're mid-journaling session, we're in flow, we're forgetting what is happening out there. We're so centered on the task, full immersion. And then we're coming down and we're both settling the whole system and we're integrating and reflecting on what we've done. Now, that integration and reflection creates a closed loop of satisfaction. It enables those reward hormones to be released, the endorphins, or just before the event and then coming down afterwards, there's usually dopamine, or there's some kind of oxytocin. There's all these different hormones which kind of rely on us having this circle or this sequence or this coming up and coming down. That affirms to our whole being, not just up here, but we feel it, that whole experience we just had was quality, that it was good, that we want to do it again, and it helps us embed that into our system and learn that pattern of beginning, getting focused, ending, walking away, and being relaxed and feeling complete. So you end up becoming very good at starting new things, enacting and being in the process of those things, transitioning out of those things, and then you end up becoming very good at walking away from those things and resting fully. These are like the 4 stages of the breath cycle. Inhalation, which we could liken to exposure to new information, or ingestion. Then we have the retention. So we've breathed in, we hold at the top. That retention of the breath, that is like when we are digesting, or we are discerning and sifting through what we've just heard to determine what's important and what isn't. We're kind of taking the nutrients from whatever it is we've just been exposed to, or from that breath. The next stage, which is just before the exhale, is we kind of make it our own. And even as we begin to express and exhale what we've just taken in and held, we're demonstrating that we understand it. We're speaking that thing in our own words. We're now doing it in our own way. We're metabolizing whatever we just consumed into us and through us. We're using it in our way. And then finally, we're kind of in that empty space, which is after the exhale, where nothing's happening. We've eliminated, or we're eliminating, and we're becoming light again, and we're actually allowing our own inner rhythm or season to be ready for the next inhale, the next learning period, the next consumption of food, whatever it might be. So in your life, as you go through these periods or tasks, be aware of when I'm taking something in, when I'm holding something, when I'm letting something go or expressing it in my own way, and when I'm empty. I'm just empty. It's like your seasons, your spring, your summer, your autumn, your winter. Now, every task you come to in your day has this rhythm. It's like the beginning, the middle, the end, and the different task. And when you're aware of what phase you're in, and when you're meeting your body there, it helps you to stay in flow, because you're cycling through, and it helps you to know whether you're doing too much or not enough, or what you need to do more of, or what you need to do less of. And when you do that daily, and then you do that weekly, and then you do that monthly, and then you do that yearly, and every aspect of your life has these small circles, these bigger circles, and then these like seasonal or yearly or even decadely or 7-year cycles. You stay in balance and you keep going, and it's wonderfully healthy, it's wonderfully productive, fruitful, restful, joyful. But what a lot of us don't do is check in on that. And so like we work super hard for 3 years in a row, and we don't have a rest even for one part of that year. And then inevitably what happens is we crash for the next year, and we wonder why we crash. We wonder why we have no inspiration. We wonder why we can't create anything good. Well, it's probably because you had 3 years worth of extracting that life force from your body and from your system, which you didn't then balance out. So now there's a course correction happening. With bodies, it's like, oh, well, why did I make such great progress in the gym or in my movement practice for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and then I just completely tanked. I got injured again and again. I got sick. I just lost motivation. I had all these frustrating emotions come up. Well, it's probably because you were just trying to ride that endless summer. You were looking for the next hit, and it became something you identified with. That process you were in became something that you thought, okay, this is who I am. But it was just a season. It's not who you are. Who you are is the whole process. So you really need to check in. Check in often. Check in early. Check in by listening to your body, listening to your breath, so that you can tie this concept with the actual state of your being. So that enables you to begin and end things well. Begin them, do them, end them, and then rest well. Everything becomes seasonal then, and everything then becomes sustainable and builds. If you think of a fruit tree, as it matures and grows over time, the quality of the fruit generally reaches a peak and gets really good, but that takes a few years. And anything in the natural world, before it eventually begins to deteriorate and make space for new life, it compounds in its creativity. There's an exponential increase in complexity, in production, in maturity. Anything that's forceful, that doesn't work with these beginnings and endings, that doesn't work with the seasons of life and of nature, you have to keep giving more and more and more, but you just don't get more out of it. And there's never any space for this resting or this winter. And so in the world of technology, in the world of social media, in the world of our capitalist and commercial expectations of what a human can produce, we end up giving a whole lot, but that giving becomes quite inefficient and it just takes more and more. And then people inevitably crash, or they leave the system, or they end up trying to find a new way. And they end up trying to massively restructure their lives, which sometimes is necessary. However, if you just had a light awareness of the seasonality of each day and each moment and each breath, you might not need to make such drastic changes in order to feel drastically different internally. Maybe. So, I've been aware of my consumption. I've been aware of the rate and type of consumption with what I eat, what I watch. And I've been in I guess you would say, an autumn and a winter, where I've been letting go of a lot of things and cutting out a lot of things and appreciating the new clarity and restfulness and emptiness that has followed. So that's been inspiring. Now, the other thing I've been doing is I've had a checklist. So every day on my bedroom wall, I look up and I see a checklist. And that checklist has a few action items on it. And these are just simple, tick the box, just do it things. One is write. So usually first thing in the morning, either before or after I've made breakfast, I will write in a journal, and I'll just, whatever's in there just comes out on the page. Sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's work related. Because I'm an online creator as one of my roles in life and a coach, the personal and the work stuff often cycles in and is connected. So this writing is really good for me in my own expression. It's really also good to help direct my work, and it's good to help people like you guys connect with what I'm doing and why, where it's coming from, so you can then apply it in your life, in your own way. So I write, that's one box ticked. Usually after writing, I feel kind of clear and still, and then I might meditate. So that's the second box. Sometimes I'll meditate first and then write. It really doesn't matter, but both write and meditate need to be ticked. Generally, it's more about the quality of that time than how much. I'm not going to force myself to sit for 20 or 40 minutes and write or do this or that, but I do want to know in my bones that the time that I've allocated and the intention that I gave that was of high quality. So if it's 10 minutes of high quality writing or half an hour, fantastic. That's the goal. It's not really about the arbitrary time. But I want to experience that flow. I want to be in that state and access some depth. So usually it's more than 15 or 20 minutes for reasons we've discussed already. When I'm writing or meditating, I'll use cues like lighting a candle or lighting some incense or making a cup of tea to signify the preparation or beginning of that work period, which writing and meditation usually go together. And then when that's finished, the candle is perhaps blown out, or the incense is finished, or the tea is going to be finished if it's still warm. And that signifies the end of that phase, cycle, micro season of my day, and the end of that phase of deep work, which then enables me to clearly and comfortably transition into the next thing that I need or want to do. And ideally, it's both. I both need and want to do it. Meditate and write. Seasonality, completion of that cycle, depth of work, uninterrupted, intentional. Now from that, I also have something either to create value, so creating value for my clients, for my digital products, or to distribute that value and get paid. So I've put it up as create and get paid. Now that task is one box to tick, just like write was one, meditate was one. It's the third box of my day. I won't get paid every day because it's not really how it works, but I can create something of value that I think is going to be immensely helpful, that I enjoy creating. And if I'm structuring that nicely, and if I'm thinking about then how I would offer that to people, I know that it almost counts as a revenue generating activity, because like without that value, there is no revenue. And with more of that value, there is more revenue. And so that helps me to know, okay, I can pay my bills. I can maybe plan to go and be a student at a retreat or a workshop later in the year. Stuff like that, which is fantastic. I might have some money to put back into what I'm creating to make it better, invest in my teaching, education, business. And then the last two are really just about staying away from vices. So there's kind of this balance, right, of like, do these really good things for myself to help me, do the thing I need to just do to like move the needle, and then I'm gonna have things not to do. So no scrolling, which we've mentioned, little voice break there, and no sugar. And I'm talking about no junk, like no refined sugar, no bullshit sugar. If I have a few dates, you know, like medjool dates, beautiful. A bit of fruit, beautiful. I'm not really counting that, but once again, I'm checking in. Am I doing this to just get some sugar in and fucking feel good? Or am I like ready for some sweetness and I'm practicing some temperance and moderation? Because over time, that's what's going to be best for me. So no sugar, no scrolling. And that really just helps me stay clear. It keeps the junk away, and it means that whatever else I'm doing can keep deepening. So those 5 boxes to tick are my 5 daily boxes at the moment. And each day I tick them, I put down the date, and if one hasn't been done to my satisfaction, or I did something that I didn't want to do, then I don't tick it, so that I'm accountable to myself. It's not about beating myself up, it's just remaining accountable. And that's my daily tally. At the top of that tally, written in a gold pen, most of it's written in pencil, I essentially am like, this is not a joke. I write like, this is a strong intention I'm making here. I'm not just saying this. This isn't just another throwaway tally or journal entry to try and stay on track. This is like, I'm showing up for this. And then I literally say, thank you, Christ. Thank you, Buddha, for supporting me in this. And I'm bringing myself, and then I'm basically calling upon these archetypes or these essences of energy and ways of being and connecting with life, represented by Christ and Buddha, to help me harmonize with something that feels deeper or greater than what I can currently see. So I'm attempting to meet the unknown, meet the unknowable, meet the unconscious, and meet the superconscious with clarity and with honor. And when I'm not like religious, I'm not in any way a zealot, like I'm also very skeptical and scientific, but that's got nothing to do with that. That's complete. That fits perfectly within this, because all of this, when you go deeply into psychology or the quantum, all of these things, the subjective aspect of the experience and finding stories and archetypes is immensely functional for us as humans. So I do that because I know that if I've invited those two to the party, I'm not going to take the piss. There's a certain reverence that I bring that perhaps otherwise would have been harder to bring. I'm like, do I really expect to sit at the table with Christ and Buddha and behave like this? Well, no, I fucking don't. So I better either clean up my act or just accept that I'm not worthy of what I'm actually expecting of myself. I'm just not bringing myself. So all of these activities and all of these non-activities and all of these opening and closing rituals and the deep work is to help me be capable of and resourced for the thing that I want. For so much of my life, I was in a pattern of expecting such high standards of myself, really expecting the best and having these benchmarks for output or for success, but I wasn't doing the things and being the things which made that possible in a joyful or healthy way. So I would maintain these high expectations, and then I would flog myself, and then I would obviously be really hard on myself when I couldn't sustain that level of output. And what that did was cause me a lot of physical pain and a lot of sickness and a lot of emotional dysregulation. It just really isn't good to expect 100 when you only have 60 in the tank. It makes no sense. And what will happen is you'll draw that energy out of your body's life essence. And later on in life, some kind of illness will become present, which will reflect that and which will mirror back at you the thing that you weren't aware you were doing. So the more early you become aware of that, which is why I mentioned the seasons and I mentioned this daily accountability, the more you can meet the moment and meet the need of the moment that your body has early and often, rather than wait for some kind of crash down the road. You're living presently and you're building momentum and health and vitality in the best way you can, to the best of your knowledge. You're taking care of your body. It's just so much better. So part of preparing myself means eating the best food that I can afford, which I think we all should. And that means whole foods, organic, local, the best I can afford, because I have access to them. If someone didn't have access and couldn't get access, I would still say go as local as possible, as clean and unsprayed as possible, and try to buy them from someone, face to face or with cash. Have a connection, have a moment of reverence around the exchange where you're getting your food from. Be as close to your food as possible. It doesn't matter how close you are. What matters, it does. I think you should make changes in life to live more closely to food production and nature. And I think you should shape your life around that as much as possible, even if it means inconvenience and even if it takes you years and years. But if you just don't have access to that, don't worry, just do your best. That's fantastic. That is all you can do. Wonderful. So I'm blessed in the area I live in, which is the Northern Rivers around Byron area in the east coast of Australia. The soil is so rich and lush. You can see my housemates growing all this stuff behind me. You can see like the kind of place we're in, the neighbors' fruit trees and all that. But I spent a lot of my life in a city, not around this. Everything was very grey. I had to just go to the supermarket, but I was still doing my best. So do your best. Take as long as you need to, and really take the time to prepare your food with love, with intention, and knowing that the digestion process and the affirmation of self-worth all begins as you're buying and preparing the best food you can as presently as possible. You're smelling it, you're feeling the food, you're considering what's going to go together and how it's going to work. This is not something I did for way more than 90% of my life. Like, I'm really just learning how to do this in a way. It's kind of like this aspect of my adult development has lagged behind. I ate whole foods, I did the best I could, but I had no idea about really how to cook them well or what to combine and what not to combine, both for health and for flavor. But I shit you not, learning this and having the support of a traditional Chinese medicine doctor in formulating these things has been such a huge part of all of the other parts that have shifted. It's helped me so much to be clearer and to actually complete the things that I've set out to, instead of just wanting to meditate, write, create something and get paid, not scroll, no sugar, but then still feeling this biological stuckness in all of those patterns. So having a bit of a intense reset for that, not intense that's hard on your body, but just like very intentional, like a month challenge type thing, and doing that with some other people might be a great move. Because then afterwards you've got momentum, you've kind of broken the pattern, you've interrupted the whole dynamic that you felt stuck in, that your whole being and nervous system felt safe in, and you've showed it a new way and you've shown up and been consistent, and it just gets easier after that first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it just gets easier. So super clean eating, lots of preparation time, sitting with my food. It's so big. I would have ignored this even longer had I not now experienced how useful it is. And when I reflect on 5 years ago, at one point I was trying to get out of chronic back pain and make some really big life decisions after a breakup. Changing the way I was eating, even though it wasn't ideal, but putting the best I could into it and learning about food, being present with it, no distractions, coupled with meditation and writing, made such a huge difference back then as well. So don't be like, oh, I don't fucking know how to cook, I'll leave that to someone else, I'll prepare my meals in bulk, I'll just buy ready-made. No, it doesn't. It's not. This is about what you're valuing, how you're living. This is about showing up again and again, moment to moment. It's not about trying to shortcut it, get it all fixed, and then never have to think about it again. Oh, when I get this great body, I'll never have to think about it again. When I have this great relationship, then I won't have to maintain it. When I get that house, then I won't have to worry. Once I've done the food prep, I don't have to think. Nah, the purpose is to use these things as doorways into a state of deeper meditative clarity and a higher level of attunement, from which state you can create things that would not be possible for someone who was only half in. You won't be able to make the right decisions and create something deeply meaningful if you're not bringing every aspect of your being and life into that creative process. And if you really do show up and bring every aspect and get real about it and accept that that might mean that you're living differently to the way most people are living, then you access this whole new dimension, which is so beautiful and so open, so raw and alive. It just feels alive. It's like your whole being and filters of the way you see the world and what you're capable of just opens up. It's like some youthful intelligence starts flowing through again. The essence, the essential life quality becomes evident to you, and it becomes like a compass guiding you towards the right conversations, the right opportunities, the right practices, the right ways to invest your energy. People might think that doing these things is so hard. There's so many things to do. Oh my God, so many things to remember. But what you have to be aware of is that once you start doing them, they give you time and energy back, because the functioning is so much higher within. You're so much clearer, so much more efficient, so much more connected to yourself, so much more available emotionally, that it's like one day for you feels like this whole journey, but one day for the past you that wasn't doing these things just flies by and feels numb, and then the next one's rolling around and you're like, what's even happening? So I've experienced both, and I'm telling you that when you live towards life essence, it feels like life opens up. It feels like you get time back. It doesn't feel like these other things that you are so used to doing, where you put in more and more effort, but you just get more and more tired. The fact that that's how you're feeling about life is a signal that you're not putting your effort into the things which amplify and compound over time. As I mentioned, fruit trees, gardens, the body, anything natural has its own essence. So when you give something to it, it takes it on and it gives back. Life wants to express and share in this way, but things that are made from a state of fear, things that are made from a state of internal chaos, even if they look to be externally so systematic and ordered, they ultimately take more life than they give. And this is why we have to be careful with social media. We have to be careful with these online shortcuts that everyone's going for. Maybe there is a place for them. However, that place is absolutely secondary to you knowing how to attune to yourself and follow what is most full of life. Only when you really define your life around that concept will you be committed enough to experience the shifts. And once you experience the shifts, you'll be like, oh, of course, I don't need those other things now. The void that I was trying to fill in my own soul, psyche, heart with that numbing food that kind of feels good but just makes me like check out, the sex, the masturbation, whatever it is, it's not that those things are wrong, it's the way they can be used as vices because they're so pleasurable and so like, they make things that are out of alignment feel okay in the short term, and then you can enable more out of alignment activity until the pleasure wears off. Then you recognize it's an addiction. So all of these addictions and the very nature of addiction comes from this internal void, which is a confusion about who we are and why we're here, and a lack of connection with ourselves and the world, a lack of connection with the part of the world that is living and real. So once we address that, the addictive tendencies then don't need to come back because we have something so much more rewarding. We have relationships, a practice, a body of work, and a vital body, and nothing could give us back what we're already creating and cultivating externally. So there's no need to sell our souls. There's no need to go spend to feel good, because we already feel good. So if we're spending on something beautiful that's going to assist in cultivation or help others, or, make us even more creative. If we're eating, it's for the same reason. If we're connecting and having sex, it's for the same reason. If everything we do becomes secondary to this, like, what is going to be most blooming and life-giving or appropriate in the season that I'm in. So I think that's just about it for that video. Your energy and awareness is so valuable, and you may have tasted this, and you may know that what you're seeking is ultimately within, and these things externally are just there to help you kind of reflect and orient yourself. They're skill sets to build, things that we have to learn how to do to be in the world, but that ultimately this deepest satisfaction comes from within, and then when it's being filtered within, can be mirrored in the things we notice, see, and share with. The satisfaction that you gain from something like a mushroom trip or an LSD trip, the level of clarity, expansiveness, MDMA, any of these drugs, any of these shorter term ecstatic experiences, you can live and be in a way where that quality and that openness of your neural filters and that sense of higher dimensionality begins to arise and seep through you and gather within you from the inside. You truly can. But in order to discover that, I think you have to be willing and ready to forego some of those shorter term hits of pleasure. there is a discipline to this, but in that discipline, there is also a tremendous joy. It's a quiet, peaceful, gathering joy, not a super exciting and then depleting crash, that starts to build. So that's all for now. Thank you for watching. I'll speak to you soon. And if you want to just suss out more of my stuff, it's attuned.space, ATTUNED.space. I got some programs, I've got some guides, got some recorded sessions and classes that you can watch or purchase, and then I've got some one-to-one work as well, and like a newsletter, attuned.space/newsletter. You might even be watching this from the newsletter. So yeah, that's me. Speak to you soon.